You think you know submarine warfare from movies and games, steel coffins hunting in the dark, torpedoes racing through black water. But one morning in September 1914, off the Dutch coast, a single German U-boat did something that changed naval warfare forever. 3 British cruisers, 62 minutes, 1,400 dead sailors. How does one submarine sink 3 massive warships in broad daylight? If you value documented military history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from the British Admiralty records and German naval archives. Now back to the story. The Broad 14s. A shallow patch of North Sea 20 miles off the Dutch coast where the water runs barely 20 fathoms deep. September 22nd, 1914. War is 6 weeks old and Britain's Grand Fleet still thinks submarines are toys. 3 armored cruisers steam in a straight line at 10 knots. HMS Aboukir, HMS Hogue, HMS Cressy, each one 460 feet long, 12,000 tons of steel and guns, 1,500 sailors total. They call it the Live Bait Squadron. Commander Christian Bruninghouse originally planned the patrol route. 3 elderly cruisers built in the 1890s, their armor already obsolete when the war started. Main guns, 2 9.2-inch pieces that could punch holes in merchant ships but struggled against modern dreadnoughts. The Admiralty knew these ships were vulnerable. That's why they stationed them here, close to friendly ports, shallow water where German battleships couldn't operate. Supposedly safe from submarine attack, 6:30 a.m., Captain Drummond on the Aboukir spots a periscope. Too late. A single torpedo slams into the starboard side below the waterline. The ship lists hard, no watertight door sealed. She's going down in 20 minutes. Otto Weddigen had been hunting for 3 days. U-9 carried 14 torpedoes when she left Wilhelmshaven on September 19th. Each torpedo weighed 1,500 pounds with a 350-pound warhead. Range, 3,000 yards maximum. Depth setting, 8 feet to hit below the armor belt. The morning light gave him perfect visibility through his periscope. Range to target, 550 yards. The Aboukir's damage control teams never had a chance. The torpedo struck between boiler rooms 2 and 3, a wisp mile in, flooding both compartments instantly. Steam lines ruptured, scalding the engine crew. Chief Engineer Williams died trying to shut off the main steam valve. Water poured in at 60 tons per minute. Basic physics. A 12,000-ton ship takes 23 minutes to sink when you flood her engine spaces. Here's where it gets ugly. The Hogue moves in to rescue survivors. Standard procedure. Humanitarian duty? Otto Weddigen in U-9 watches through his periscope as the second cruiser stops dead in the water, lowering boats, pulling men from the freezing North Sea. He fires 2 torpedoes. Both hit. The Hogue rolls over in 10 minutes. Captain Wilmot Nicholson, commanding the Hogue, knew the risks. Naval regulations required him to attempt rescue unless under direct attack. His crew lowered 8 lifeboats and threw 200 life rings into the water. The ship's surgeon, Lieutenant Commander Hayes, organized medical teams on deck to treat survivors. Standard humanitarian protocol that had worked for centuries, until submarines changed the rules. Weddigen's second attack used his remaining bow torpedoes. Firing solution calculated at 300 yards range, target speed 0, no deflection needed. The first torpedo struck the Hogue's port side at 6:55 a.m. The second hit 15 seconds later, same location, doubling the flooding rate. The cruiser's older design lacked modern compartmentalization. She rolled 90 degrees in 8 minutes and went down stern first. Survivors described the sound. Not an explosion, a deep metal crunch like a giant stepping on a tin can. Then screaming steam, shouting men. The ship's whistle stuck open in a long death wail. Petty Officer Collins, one of 74 survivors. The deck went vertical. Men fell like raindrops. Now the Cressy knows she's fighting a submarine, but her captain makes the same mistake. Can't leave 1,500 men to drown. She steams toward the wreckage at full speed, thinking she can ram the U-boat or at least rescue the survivors. Weddigen waits. Lets her get close. 2 more torpedoes. The Cressy takes 25 minutes to sink. Captain Robert Johnson faced an impossible choice. Naval tradition demanded he rescue survivors. Common sense said he'd become the next target. He chose tradition. The Cressy's crew threw every rope. Life preserver A and wooden item overboard. The ship's carpenter, Petty Officer Evans, organized damage control teams to prepare for torpedo attack while the rescue continued. Textbook procedure executed perfectly. It made no difference. U-9 had circled around to attack from the port side. Weddigen used his stern torpedoes, the last 2 in his tubes. Range, 400 yards. Target bearing, steady. The Cressy was dead in the water. A perfect target. Both torpedoes hit within 20 feet of each other at 7:20 a.m. The explosion severed the ship's keel. If you value documented military history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual, using sources from Weddigen's War Diary and Admiralty loss records. Now back to the story. The numbers tell the horror. Aboukir, 527 dead, 259 survivors. Hogue, 377 dead, 74 survivors. Cressy, 560 dead, 237 survivors. Total, 1,464 sailors dead, 570 pulled from the water by Dutch fishing boats and German destroyers. But the casualty reports hide the real story. Most deaths occurred in the water, not from the torpedo strikes. September North Sea temperature, 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Survival time, without a life jacket, 15 to 30 minutes before hypothermia sets in. With a life jacket, maybe 2 hours. The rescue ships arrived 90 minutes after the last sinking Dutch fishing vessel. Flora rescued 83 British sailors. Captain Vanderberg's logbook, translated from Dutch, found men floating like dark spots on gray water, many already dead, faces blue, hands frozen to debris. Those still alive begged for mothers, wives, God. Pulled 47 living from the sea. German torpedo boat S-116 arrived at 8:45 a.m. and rescued another 112 survivors. Lieutenant Commander Franz Hipper's report notes the professional behavior of both German and British sailors during the rescue. No hostilities. War suspended by common humanity until the next attack. Weddigen surfaces after the attack. His crew watches British sailors clinging to wreckage in the September cold. Some German accounts say they threw life preservers. The North Sea doesn't care about chivalry. Water temperature, 52 degrees. Survival time without protection, 30 minutes maximum. The U-boat's War Diary records the crew's reaction. Machinist Wilhelm Schmidt wrote, "English sailors in water like seals. Some wave at us, others curse. Chief throws rope to 3 men, pulls them to our hull. War is strange business." The 3 rescued sailors became prisoners of war and survived until 1918. U-9's fuel consumption during the attack, 600 gallons of diesel oil. Torpedo inventory afterward, 10 remaining. Crew casualties, 0. Damage to submarine, minor flooding in forward torpedo room from defective tube seal. Total German investment in the operation, approximately 50,000 marks, including fuel, torpedoes, and crew wages. The Admiralty tries to bury the story. 3 cruisers lost to a single submarine. Impossible. They blame mines at first, but Weddigen's War Diary survives. Entry for September 22nd. Fired 4 torpedoes, 3 ships sunk. Duration of action, 1 hour 2 minutes. Cold, precise, factual. First Lord of the Admiralty. Winston Churchill received the news at 10:30 a.m. via wireless telegram from HMS Lowestoft. His handwritten note on the message, impossible. Confirm ship identities and cause of loss. The confirmation arrived 2 hours later with survivor testimonies. Churchill's second note, God help us all. The British press initially reported the losses as mine strikes in North Sea Patrol area. The Times, September 24th edition, regret to announce loss of HMS Aboukir, Hogue, and Cressy to enemy action. Casualties under investigation. Not until October 3rd did they admit submarine attack. Public morale couldn't handle the truth immediately. The tactical lessons reshape everything. British cruisers were sailing in a predictable pattern at predictable speed with no destroyer escort. No zigzag course, no depth charges, they didn't exist yet. Submarine doctrine called for 1 torpedo per ship, surface attacks at night. Weddigen proved you could fire multiple torpedoes submerged in daylight and sink capital ships like target practice. Pattern analysis of the patrol route shows criminal negligence. The 3 cruisers followed the same course every day for 2 weeks. Same speed, same spacing, same timing. German intelligence mapped their movements from neutral shipping reports. Any competent submarine commander could have planned this attack. Weddigen just executed it first. The British had no anti-submarine weapons beyond ramming. Depth charges wouldn't be invented until 1916. Hydrophones for underwater detection came in 1917. Sonar arrived in 1918, after the war ended. In September 1914, a submerged submarine was essentially invisible and invulnerable. The psychological impact hits harder than the torpedoes. British sailors called submarines underwater assassins and pirates. Fair fight meant ship against ship, broadside to broadside, honor and tradition. A submarine couldn't even be seen. It violated every rule of naval warfare that had existed for 3 centuries. Admiral Jackie Fisher, designer of the Dreadnought battleship, wrote to the First Sea Lord, "The submarine has made the battleship as obsolete as the horse cavalry. We are fighting the last war while the Germans fight the next one." His prediction proved correct. By 1918, Submarines sank more tonnage than surface ships. German naval doctrine changed immediately. Every U-boat received new tactical instructions based on Weddigen's attack, multiple torpedo shots per target, patient stalking of rescue ships, submerged attacks in daylight when visibility allowed. The Broad 14s method became standard submarine procedure. The German Navy promotes Weddigen to lieutenant commander and gives him the Knight's Cross. The British imposed new rules: no cruiser operations without destroyer escort, mandatory zigzag courses, watertight doors sealed at all times. Too late for 1,400 dead sailors. Kaiser Wilhelm II personally decorated U-9's crew at Wilhelmshaven on October 1st. Each man received the Iron Cross second class and a bonus of 500 marks. Weddigen got the Pour le Mérite, Germany's highest military honor. The ceremony lasted 2 hours with full military band and newsreel cameras. New British naval orders, effective September 25th. All major warships must maintain 15-knot minimum speed in combat zones. Zigzag pattern every 8 minutes. Destroyer escort mandatory for vessels over 6,000 tons. Watertight integrity maintained at sea. Radio silence except for emergency. The rules that should have existed before the war started. U-9 returns to base, flying battle flags. Kaiser Wilhelm personally decorates the crew. German propaganda calls it the Dänische Ombas, Day of Three Ships. British newspapers call it murder. Both sides know the game has changed forever. The German submarine service expanded from 28 boats in August 1914 to 372 by November 1918. Total Allied shipping sunk, 11 million tons. Submarine warfare became Germany's primary naval strategy. The surface fleet stayed in port, while U-boats hunted merchant convoys and warships alike. British countermeasures evolved slowly. Convoy system implemented in 1917. Depth charge production reached 100 per month by 1918. Anti-submarine patrol craft increased from 12 vessels to over 3,000. The learning curve cost Britain 6 million tons of shipping and 40,000 merchant sailors. The wreck sites lie in 60 feet of water 15 miles northeast of the Hook of Holland, British war graves, protected under international law. In 1967, Dutch salvage divers found human remains still trapped in the Cressy's hull. Brass nameplate reads, Able Seaman J. Morrison, aged 17. The youngest victim on record. Modern sonar mapping shows all 3 wrecks within a 2-mile radius. The Abukir lies on her starboard side, hull broken behind the bridge. Hogue sits upright on the seabed, superstructure collapsed. Cressy broke in half when she hit bottom, bow and stern sections 200 yards apart. Bronze propellers removed by salvage crews in the 1920s. Environmental surveys from the 1990s detected oil still leaking from the wrecks. Approximately 20 gallons per year from ruptured fuel tanks. The Dutch government installed containment barriers in 2003. Estimated cleanup completion, 2050. The sea holds its dead for centuries. Weddigen doesn't survive the war. March 18th. 1915, his submarine U-29 rams, HMS Dreadnought while submerged. All hands lost. The sea takes everyone eventually. But his tactics live forever. Every submarine captain from 1914 to today studies the Broad 14's engagement. How to kill 3 ships with 4 torpedoes. The irony cuts deep. Weddigen died attacking the ship that revolutionized naval warfare before submarines existed. HMS Dreadnought, launched in 1906, made every battleship obsolete with her 10 12-inch guns and turbine propulsion. 8 years later, submarines made dreadnoughts obsolete. Naval evolution accelerated by war. His final mission targeted British troop ships carrying reinforcements to Gallipoli. U-29 approached the convoy submerged in rough weather. Weddigen raised his periscope too high, and HMS Dreadnought's lookouts spotted the wake. The battleship rammed the submarine at 18 knots, crushing her hull like an eggshell. No survivors recovered. The mathematics are simple. 1 submarine, 35 crew, 800 tons displacement, cost of 200,000 marks. 3 cruisers, 4,500 crew, 36,000 tons displacement, cost of £6 million. The future of naval warfare written in iron and blood on the floor of the North Sea. Economic analysis shows submarines offered devastating return on investment. Germany built 372 submarines during the war for approximately 74 million marks, total cost. They sank Allied shipping, worth £2.8 billion. Cost-effectiveness ratio, 38-1. No other weapon system in history matched that destruction-to-cost ratio. The human cost extends beyond casualties. Survivor psychological trauma, documented in British naval medical records, shows consistent patterns, recurring nightmares. Inability to serve on ships, alcohol dependency, suicide rates 3 times higher than normal naval personnel. The term shell shock included submarine attack survivors after 1915. Final count from German naval archives: U-9 expended exactly 4 torpedoes and returned to base with 10 remaining. Ammunition efficiency: 100%, 3 direct hits, 1 miss that may have struck Abu Qir twice. The miss hit a floating mine laid earlier by German destroyers. Even the waste contributed to the kill. Technical analysis reveals the torpedo settings that made the attack possible. Weddigen set his torpedoes to run at 8 feet depth, just below the armor belt but above the keel. This maximized flooding while avoiding the heavily armored citadel. Each warhead contained 350 pounds of hexanite explosive, sufficient to punch 20-foot holes in half-inch steel plating. The cruisers' own design flaws became death traps. Built in the 1890s, they lacked modern compartmentalization. Watertight bulkheads extended only to the main deck, not the upper works. Single torpedo hits flooded multiple compartments simultaneously. Modern warships with better subdivision might have survived the same attacks. British Admiralty report, filed October 5th, 1914. Classification removed in 1968. The loss of 3 armored cruisers to a single submarine represents the most catastrophic tactical defeat in the history of the Royal Navy. Filed and forgotten, until the next submarine changed everything again. The report's recommendations shaped British naval policy for the remainder of the war: convoy escort requirements, destroyer construction priorities, anti-submarine research funding, submarine detection technology development. Every major British naval decision from October 1914 forward traced back to Weddigen's 62-minute attack. Intelligence analysis later revealed German agents in Dutch ports had reported British patrol schedules. The attack wasn't random, it was planned using systematic intelligence gathering. Neutral shipping companies, harbor pilots, and port officials provided movement schedules to German naval intelligence. Espionage made the tactical surprise possible. 62 minutes that rewrote the rules of war, steel sharks hunting in packs, the age of the battleship ending before it really began. One German submarine commander looking through a periscope at 3 British cruisers and seeing the future of naval warfare: cold water, twisted metal. 1,400 sailors who never saw it coming. In 1982, British naval historians found Otto Weddigen's personal effects in a Hamburg museum. Among them, a pocket watch stopped at 7:23 a.m., 3 minutes after the Cressy sank. Engraved on the back, for services to the fatherland, September 22, 1914. Time stopped at the moment submarine warfare changed forever.